NFL fans? What's up, Dolphin Nation? What's up, PhinsTalk family? In today's video, we're going to go ahead and talk about Jeff Hafley has hired 2 more assistant coaches. Plus, Sully, the Dolphins GM, just hired a couple days ago his right-hand man and assistant GM. So stay tuned. The Miami Dolphins and head coach Jeff Hafley have hired 2 more assistant coaches, and this time it's a pair of defensive coaches from the Green Bay Packers. This article is from Zachary Jacobson of 24/7 Sports, the Packer Report. You could have formed a barbershop quartet with all the coaches and executives who will be making the pilgrimage from Green Bay to Miami this offseason, though it's unknown whether or not any of them can sing. The latest to join the group is Sean Duggan, the Green Bay Packers linebackers coach, according to Tom Silverman of PackersNews.com. He'll serve as a member of first-year head coach Jeff Hafley's defensive staff with the Miami Dolphins, as will Ryan Downward, who spent 8 seasons in Green Bay and the last 3 seasons coaching the team's defensive backs, will serve as the Dolphins' secondary coach. While some players may have ventured to Cancun following the conclusion of the season, Hafley, Duggan, and Downward and John Eric Sullivan opted for Miami instead. Sullivan was hired as the Dolphins' general manager earlier this month, and Hafley followed suit last week, succeeding Mike McDaniel as their head coach after 2 years coordinating the Packers' defense. It's a surprise that Duggan was poached from the Packers? Not really. Head coach Matt LaFleur had already anticipated that Hafley would bring along key members of the Packers coaching staff with him to the Dolphins, but that was especially true for Duggan. He and Hafley have worked together every year since the pair arrived at Ohio State in 2019. That will continue in 2026. Duggan followed Hafley to Boston College, where Hafley coached the school's football program for 4 seasons, and Duggan coached their linebackers. He was made co-defensive coordinator in 2023 before they both departed for the NFL the following year. Landing with the Packers, Duggan was a defensive assistant for the Packers in his first season with the team before being promoted to linebackers coach last year. It's unclear what position Duggan will hold on Hafley's staff, but the early indication is that he could be a favorite for the Dolphins' vacant defensive coordinator job. The Packers may have anticipated losing Duggan, but nonetheless, it's another vacancy that newly hired defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon will have to fill. He may already have his preferred candidate on speed dial. Similarly to Hafley and Duggan being attached to the hip, the same can be said for Gannon and 32-year-old Rick Niles. They both have worked together since 2021, when Gannon was hired as the Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator. He brought Riles to coach the team's linebackers. When Gannon was hired as the Arizona Cardinals head coach, he tapped Riles to coordinate his defense. They spent 3 seasons together before Gannon was fired by the Cardinals following the conclusion of the 2025 campaign. Downward has been a carryover through 3 defensive regimes. When Mike Pettine was hired as the Packers defensive coordinator in January 2018 under then head coach Mike McCarthy, Downward was one of the first hires. He began as defensive quality control coach before being promoted 3 different times in the past 5-year span. Once as assistant defensive back coach, once to safeties coach, and then again to defensive back coach in 2023, which is where he spent the last 3 seasons. Pettine, Joe Barry, and now Hafley have all come and gone, but Downward had been a consistent on the Packers coaching staff. He helped oversee the All-Pro campaign of Jair Alexander in 2020, a career resurgence for Rasul Douglas in 2021, where he registered 4 interceptions in as many games and a single season high in interceptions for Rudy Ford in 2022. Since becoming the full-time defensive back coach, the Packers have excelled at the safety position with contributions from Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard. Williams and Bullard, a pair of second-year safeties, have both blossomed, while McKinney finished second in the league in interceptions in 2024. Unless Gannon wants to outsource for a hire that he's more acclimated with, it's fair to suspect that Derek Ashley is the favorite to replace Downward as the Packers defensive back coach. The 44-year-old Ashley arrived in Green Bay with Hafley in 2024 and has served as the team's passing game coordinator, but has an extensive resume working with defensive backs. Between 2005 and 2017, Ashley was the defensive back coach for 4 different college programs: Huntingdon, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama. He entered the NFL circuit in 2018 with the same role with the Oakland Raiders. Went back to Tennessee for 2 years and returned to the Los Angeles Chargers defensive back coach in 2021 and 2022. He was promoted to their defensive coordinator position in 2023. Let me give you a little background on Ryan Downward. His last year with Green Bay as defensive back coach was 2025. Then he was defensive back coach for Green Bay in 2024. Defensive back coach in Green Bay in 2023. Safeties coach in Green Bay in 2022. Assistant defensive back coach in 2021 with the Green Bay Packers. 2020, assistant defensive back coach also. 2019, assistant defensive back coach. 2018, defensive quality control coach with the Green Bay Packers. 2015, defensive assistant coach. 2014, defensive assistant coach. 2014 and 2015, he worked with the Cleveland Browns. Now, Sean Duggan. Sean Duggan is a football coach in the National Football League. You guys already know that. His history is with the Green Bay Packers in 2025 and 2024. 2025, he was a linebackers coach with the Green Bay Packers. 2024, he was defensive assistant coach with the Green Bay Packers. So his only NFL experience is 2024 and 2025. The rest of it has been in college. And also, John Eric Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, has hired his assistant GM, and he poached the Atlanta Falcons to hire his assistant GM. And this article was written by Kyle Krabs, the NFL national writer, and he has a YouTube channel that covers the Dolphins. The Dolphins hire a major power player to serve as John Eric Sullivan's right-hand man in the front office. 5 things to know about the new Miami Dolphins assistant general manager, Kyle Smith. Miami Dolphins were busy Friday afternoon after a whirlwind of a week and the introduction of Coach Jeff Hafley and general manager John Eric Sullivan to the world as the new brain trust of the Miami Dolphins. Unleashed a pair of major hires Friday evening, one for both men. Hafley got himself a coordinator in Chris Tabbert. Sullivan, on the other hand, got himself a significant addition to the front office. It was announced that former Atlanta Falcons assistant general manager Kyle Smith was joining the team in the same role. Smith has notable NFL ties going back to the AFC East, best rivalry in several years of leadership experience in front offices. What else do you need to know? Here are 5 things to know about the new Dolphins assistant general manager. 1. He's the son of former Chargers general manager A.J. Smith. A.J. Smith has a massive thumbprint on the history of 2 organizations. The Chargers, after a decade as a general manager in the 2000s, and the Buffalo Bills of the late 1980s and 1990s. Kyle grew up in Western New York as his father scouted for and helped build the Bills. getting an up-close look at one of the most impressive football operations of the time. A.J. Smith helped execute the Eli Manning Phillips Rivers trade in 2004 NFL Draft and was named Pro Football Writers of America Executives of the Year that same season. Kyle Smith has a great bloodline in the scouting industry. 2. He turned to scouting after 4 years of professional football as a player. Kyle Smith did make a run at a playing career in the league. He was a successful prep athlete in Western New York before playing college football as a wide receiver and returner at Youngstown State. He played in the 2006 Hula Bowl before going undrafted and spending 4 years bouncing around the NFL practice squads, NFL Europe, the AFL, and the CFL. Rise through the ranks, conceded with strong French picks in Washington. Smith's first 6 seasons as the NFL scout were served on the intern and regional scout level. He was promoted to director of college scouting in 2017, then again to the vice president of player personnel in 2020. For 4 years, Smith served in an elevated role in Washington. The team invested a ton on the defensive line with early picks including Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Montez Sweat, and Chase Young. Number 4. Tenure in Atlanta was dominated by skilled player picks at the top. Kyle Smith transitioned from Washington to Atlanta in 2021 thanks to some front office movement. The first season in Atlanta, the team drafted tight end Kyle Pitts early. The following year was wide receiver Drake London. Then it was running back Bijan Robinson. In 2024, the team drafted QB Michael Penix Jr. Smith's role was obviously not the decision maker. That responsibility was former Falcons general manager Terry Fontenot's. But it was fascinating to see Smith's resume show examples of pouring primary resources into two different parts of a roster year over year. Hunting win because of starters early. Everybody in the league grades a little different, but the commonality is the buckets. The first bucket is a win because of starters. These guys, you can say elite, high level, whatever that is. That bucket is every year, depending on the year. A smaller bucket. Below that, your winning starters. The bucket is a little bigger. And underneath, that is your good role player, that players, etc. Whenever you're in the first, you're trying to pick from the top bucket. Kyle Smith, honorably NFL draft dynamics. All right, there you guys have it. The two new assistants for Coach Hafley and the new assistant general manager of our Miami Dolphins. Leave me your thoughts in the comments. Leave me your thoughts of what you think of these assistant hires and the new assistant general manager. And like always, I appreciate your support. Let's continue to grow this PhinsTalk by Rolling with Carlos family. And like always, stay positive, stay on your grind, and go Dolphins.